Hello everybody, Justin here from Playing Board Games, and today I'm here to do a component showcase for Blue Oni Games. If you don't know, I sometimes get components sent to me by certain companies to be like, hey, you should check out this component, showcase to your audience, and you know, there's even a code in the video description to get a little bit saved off of your order. Personally, I love doing this stuff. While I'm not the biggest user of premium components, I am happy to showcase to the community some options for premium components that you might find interesting. Additionally, for Blue Oni Games, I'm a little bit biased because it is a Canadian company. So if you're one of our Canadian viewers and you're looking for some, components, consider Blue Oni Games and, support some Canadian small businesses. I think that stuff is super hype as hell. Again, that's my own personal bias because I am Canadian, so I just have to put that out there. As I said, I don't really use premium components apart from Mythos tokens. Those are the things that I like to use, and whenever I got in premium components, I kind of just rotate Mythos tokens in here. There are no Mythos tokens in this video, but I'm going to kind of just showcase what we have here, some of the things that are currently available on Blue Oni Games if you wanted to check that out. First off, we're going to keep it pretty simple with both of these damage and horror tokens that are here. I actually also, for once, I'm actually smart. I pulled out some from the actual game. So you can see that the size is actually like comparable to what's there in the actual game. It's pretty much the exact same size. These components are metal. Is what I believe the substance of this to be. That's these things here. Actually, I can see. Let's go to the product specialization page and see what we got here. They're a zinc alloy, and I don't know much. I'm not the smartest tool in the shed, or the sharpest tool in the shed, rather. But I'm pretty sure zinc alloy would classify as a metal. So yeah, there are. These are the health and sanity tokens for damage and horror, tracking both on your investigators, your allies, enemy stuff that can get those. I also generally use horror tokens to track like progress in a scenario. If I am keeping track of if I did this thing or if I did not do this thing, this is where I like to use the horror tokens for. They're super light. They're a little bit. There's a little bit of a texture on them. So you can definitely feel like for the lines, there's the textures on there. Additionally, each of these tokens are double-sided. So on the other side, you can track two. So that's always neat. Stuff like that is really beneficial. As I said, for these premium components, for our videos, I generally track damage and horror with dice. It's just easier for us to play with, and it's easier for viewers to keep track of that sort of thing. But these are nice alternatives if you are looking at changing that. For the prices, these are all in Canadian, which means, I guess if you're in America, it's a steal of a deal. This is $26 Canadian for 10 double-sided tokens for both the health and the sanity here. So you get 10 of them. I actually have them. We might as well make a mess of this, right? Let's have some fun. Make a little mess. So you can get all these. And so that tracks 10 damage, 20 damage because they are double-sided. If you're playing two-handed, or if you're playing two players, this is probably enough. If you're playing 3 or 4 players, this is going to get a little bit trickier for those counts. Just like realistically, that's where things just end up going for that level. But they're nice tokens. They look really good. They feel really nice. For premium components of what I've done so far, these are, I think, my first ever metal ones. Everything else has been like the plastic for the other ones that we've done. And, I mean, those were previously also really good components, but this is my first one doing metal ones that for video. And I think they're really nice. All right. Next up, let's keep this train going. We might as well stick with the player card side, and let's talk about the resource tokens. Ooh, shiny. Got them all here for you. We got 3 of them here. So, notably the difference between this and the health and damage is that you use more resource tokens over the course of the game. I think just because, you know, if you're putting uses on stuff, secrets and all that. Currently on their website, they only have resource tokens. So a lot of the times you'll see for custom components and like premium components, they sometimes have things that are like secrets, charges. They have unique things for that for people who really want to, you know, premium up their game. Currently, there is just the resource tokens here. They are also like the health and sanity. They are double-sided, so you can get both versions of them. I brought out the tokens. As you can see, they're actually, again, the same size. So that's something you can definitely see here for these premium components by Blue Oni Games. They have tried to keep it similar to what you actually have in the game. So it's not much is going to change. One thing to note is they're actually also incredibly the same width as well. So you can see that there. That's actually really cool. Oopsie, sorry, hit the camera. Is the same true for these guys? The same is true for these. So actually it's not going to change too much from the tactile sense of switching over to these. So if you're looking at just going from your base revised core to this actually is not too big of a difference. They also won't get like moved around, so there's no risk that because they're so small like these. There's no risk of them, well, there is flipping when you go on the perfect thing. So I guess there is some risk, but I'm going out of my way to do this. But just like hitting it with that, so, but I mean, I suppose it doesn't happen, oh, it does happen with these too. Okay, so never mind. But like the chance of them flipping is pretty minor. This is compared to the 3 and the 5 resources that came in the revised core, which I actually completely forgot about when I was pulling out the components today. I was like, oh yeah, that's kind of neat. But you can see here that these ones are smaller than those, but they fill in a very similar purpose. These are 15 tokens for 38 Canadian dollars. So you get some more tokens, which is good because, you know, there's, as I said, you're going to use resources just generally more across the table. I think, again, for player counts, 2 player is probably the number that's good for these. Once you start getting into 3 or 4 player, these might run out. But just something to keep in mind if you are going to be looking at picking these up. All right, enough with our resource tokens. Maybe I'll put them all on the table on the end, because that's just fun. And then I have something to do after. After this video, I can sort them. All right, let's move on to Clue and Doom tokens. So these are Clue tokens. And on the inverse, they're Doom tokens! The designs actually seem to mimic what's on these as well. Kept it very simple with the designs, but they look really nice. And these ones are kind of, I don't want to say this, but I'm gonna say this, like ribbed. It's not the best word for it, but it is one of those things that's just like, the only thing I can think of off the top of my head, so my apologies for that one. But these are about the same size. Again, these ones, the tokens are a little bit bigger just because of the things going around the outside. But otherwise, again, you can see that the idea behind these components was to keep it very similar to what already existed within the game, at least for these resource tokens and like the tokens that we interact with all the time, which I think is a pretty neat idea. Yeah, so double-sided. There is also 2 as well for keeping track of these. Compared to in the core game, there's the 3. And again, you can actually see that it's pretty similar to the same sort of thing. So you can see that this was where they took their inspiration for the size of their components, which I think is honestly pretty sweet. And again, these are double-sided, so you can see there's the eye for it. So really simple for these things. Again, the colors are good, so they'll be going through. I also can't express how much I love the red and blue for these. They look really nice. And it's one of those things where we actually started to try to use some premium components, for example, in Eric and I's run through Innsmouth, which is currently happening on the channel. And I think it could be fun to revisit that again for maybe using some of these components, because I do like them, and I think they look and they read really nicely. I'll have to see. All right, so prices for these guys, because I always like to keep that going. I looks like the Clue and Doom, so they come in 2 packages. There is a package which is just the one-ofs, so you can get 10 tokens, which is probably not gonna be a lot to keep it going for that, just due to the way that Clue and Doom are used in this game. They're used very frequently, so you might need to buy multiple of these, just something to keep in mind. That's 26 Canadian dollars for 10 of them. For 30 Canadian dollars, you get 10 of these, which when you put all that together is probably good enough for 2 players. The clues might, again, run out for 3 and 4 players, but I think it's pretty reasonable for premium components to hover around the 2-player mark for their prices and how they put things out. So just something to keep in mind if you are planning to go to 3 or 4 player tokens. So if you want to get a full set of 20 tokens of 10 Doom, 1 Clue 1 2, and 10 two-sided, you're looking at what is that? 56 Canadian dollars, and you get 10 of each of them for that price. All right, next up, we got what I will always say is like the #1 recommendation if you're looking at adding premium components to your Arkham game, and that is, you guessed it, location connectors. And these ones are really nice. These ones are really cool because they're also really small. Location connectors, if they're too big, can sometimes lead to your maps being too big because of that. And also because locations are sometimes flipped and revealed, you can't really overlay them without having to move stuff around. So these are really sleek and small, which is really nice. The design is kind of like it's like a little pen nib on the top. And you can see that they're also double-sided. So they are one-way on one side and two-way on the other side. They're kind of like a golden black, and they look really nice. I especially like them because we play on black neoprene, which I actually currently have like a neoprene mat on my desk, which I use for recording. But we also have this downstairs on the gaming table, neoprene mat. So if you're using black, they'll read really nice, which I think is really cool. Again, if you're looking at just one thing to increase the quality of your game component-wise, I do think that location connectors are like the best bang for your buck. So if you are looking at one thing, this is a great place to go for it. You get 15 of these, and they are 40 Canadian dollars for 15 tokens. Yeah, I think all these prices seem reasonable to me for the Canadian, the component quality for these as well. So not bad, yeah. So 15 of these, and that's all you're going to be need. You'll just need one set of these, and you'll be covered, which I think is really cool. All right, we have 2 more things to talk about here, and this first one is actually one that I think is a really neat idea. These are click trackers or action tokens. I have a few more. I have one more over here. And this is to keep track of your turns. If you've ever played on the digital mod, you would know that they have tokens that you can flip to show that you've taken those actions, which is really helpful, especially for someone like me when I am playing Arkham and I'm talking with chat or trying to make jokes or just generally trying to fill the void that is silence, because I hate silence. It's trying to kill me. I like to use, these are good to keep track and make sure that I haven't like messed up or anything or slipped up any of my decisions as it goes. So having these in paper is really nice option for players to have as well. And this is only 4 tokens for $12 Canadian. Which is also, I think, like the location connectors, I actually think this is also a pretty alright thing to have, especially if you just want to keep track of the game and get into the habit of, I'll do the best turn ever. I'll draw a card, I'll resign. You know, you can just like have these to keep track and then flip them back during the upkeep phase. Of course, it'd be nicer to have a button you could just press that flips them over for you, but you can just use, you know, your little grubby fingers to do it for the time being until we can automate our own Arkham physical tables as well. But yeah, I think these are really neat. As I said, 4 tokens for 12 Canadian dollars. I think this is a really nice product idea as well for players. So if you're looking at something to just get started for increasing your game, these are no bad choice. The location connectors and the action and the click trackers. So 24 for 2 players, 12 for just 1 player. There's a chance that you can get more actions than this in the game as we know, but like 4 is a pretty good number to just give as a default. It covers the generic Leo DeLuca. You can also use 1 on your investigator card. Like you can have 3 for your main actions and 1 for your investigator ability, just like they also have on the mod. The last thing we have here is actually not going to be on the camera there, but it is a playmat, which is, I think, a nice option to have as well. I know people make their own one of these customs. I think some people have actually made them based on the mat that exists in Tabletop Simulator, so this is a nice alternative here. So, because I can't really get it on the camera, I'm just going to kind of hold it up here for all of you. If you have touched a neoprene playmat before in your life, this is exactly what that is. Let me actually even just check here. Yeah, it's machine washable, smooth cloth top with a rubber bottom for traction. You can kind of just hear me scratching it there. Otherwise, this is just like an actual neoprene mat. So like exactly the one that I have like right here. Exact same kind of thing. So if we look at the designs, we have a threat area up at the top, which is really neat. We have our place to put our investigator cards, our resources we can put up here. We have a library and a discard pile, ally, body slot, hand. This actually seems to be modeled off of, very similar to the layout they have in the Tabletop Simulator mod as well, if you played with that. So ally, body, hand, charge, well, arcane, tarot slot, if you're feeling a little bit frisky, accessory slot, and then blank for this one here. So yeah, just a nice little simple thing if you want to keep track, if you don't do it, like if you don't just are monsters like us and just have things going, and a really nice big threat area as well. A lot of space works really nicely for that kind of thing. I think this is just, again, if you're looking for something simple, this is also a good place to start. It'll just make your table look nicer, which I know a lot of people do really go. It is, 32 Canadian dollars for one of these, which is about on par for a custom-made playmat. I know back in 2015, which the world is a much different place economically since then, I could buy Magic the Gathering playmats for 20 Canadian. So it's probably pretty close to the same sort of thing. Yeah, I think that this is overall a lot of cool components here for options for players who might be looking to make their game a little bit more premium. Let's get all these other tokens in here, like I said. Put them all in a big pile. The colors are really nice. I have to desaturate, like they don't come through as much because they get desaturated when you put them through a webcam, but I can up the saturation a bit just to give you like for that, like here. But yeah, it's a nice little pile of components. I think that it's a good option, especially again if you're a Canadian player and you're looking to buy some stuff. Consider Blue Oni Games because they are Canadian. Otherwise than that, hopefully they continue to put more stuff on their website. I would love to see chaos tokens from them, because I think that's where a lot of people, if they're looking at one thing to put up, they really want to make their their chaos tokens better. And these would be nice to just like, you put your hand in the bag, the sound. I feel like there's a lot to be mined, and like from a tactile sense for the sound and like the feeling of reaching into a chaos bag with premium components. And I think that these ones would be pretty nice if they were upgraded. With all that said, again, huge thanks to Blue Oni Games for sending me these to showcase to all of you. You might see these in future videos, because I continue to try to maybe explore using premium components in our videos, but we might just default to dice. Again, there is a code that you can use down in the video description to save a little bit on your order if you do decide to buy any premium components. Otherwise, thank you so much for watching, everybody. Have a good one. I realized I was too early in my speech, and now I gotta fill the time, because I gotta shout out the Wizards of the Order and the Knights of the Inner Circle, because I love all my patrons. I love all my patrons. There's not one patron I love more than the other, except I guess my wife, because she's one of the patrons, so, you know, she kind of wins that one. But in the meantime, everybody, thanks for watching. Have a good one, and as always, a GG's.